wildfire, thousands of families evacuated. While in the east tonight, severe storms in Boston late today, New York overnight, and the deadly circus tent collapse. Meantime, at this hour, the most powerful storm on the planet headed for one of the world's tallest buildings. Also breaking, the deadly outbreak. The growing number of cases of an airborne disease now showing up in 2 states, the worst ever in New York City. The manhunt at this hour, the suspect considered armed and dangerous, accused of murder, kidnapping, and wounding 2 officers. Neighbors warned tonight to stay indoors. And the poll numbers just in tonight. Who makes the cut for the first big debate? And the 2 candidates who will be right there in the middle.
From ABC News World Headquarters, this is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with severe weather on both coasts. First, that growing emergency in California, that raging fire exploding inside the White House, now keeping careful watch. And look at this, what appears to be tornadoes of fire there in the middle of that wall of flames. The fire actually jumping a highway. Tonight, more than 10,000 firefighters now deployed across California. The Air Force helping in the fight. At least 24 homes burned to the ground. Thousands of families on the move at this hour. We are also following the severe weather hitting here in the east. Time-lapse out of Boston late today, the dark storm clouds moving in. Also late this afternoon, a microburst confirmed, blamed in that deadly circus tent collapse. We do have it all covered tonight, beginning with ABC's Clayton Sandell on the front lines.
Tonight, the 100-square-mile Rocky Fire is threatening nearly 7,000 homes.
Over the past several days, what we've seen is explosive fire behavior.
Yesterday, the fire jumped this highway, starting a spot fire that itself was 3,200 acres. It's not as hot today, but the fire is now generating its own weather. Moisture from plants and heat combine, rising and forming clouds. Those clouds can bring rain, but also lightning and dangerous downdrafts that make a fire unpredictable.
The firefighters tell us that when you sometimes see the fire tornadoes, like a fire whirl they call it, that means the air here is extremely unstable.
Watch from above. These flames appear to go out, but when the wind changes slightly, just 15 seconds later, the fire explodes again in a different direction. This area burned through yesterday. There's a thick layer of ash on the ground, and the whole place kind of smells like you stuck your head in a charcoal grill. But I want to show you something rather serious. This tree appears to have stopped burning, but if you come down here to the roots underground, it's still burning hot. This can go on for hours, even days longer, and of course it could lead to flare-ups. Stopping those flare-ups, now up to 3,200 firefighters and a fleet of helicopters and planes, including military tankers, protecting the homes of 13,000 evacuees.
This is the first time that I'm really feeling afraid that I could lose my house.
And thanks to the fire, schools here will start a week late.
And David, this is the area where those 24 homes were lost. You can see some of the devastation left behind. And with thousands more threatened, firefighters are working desperately to make sure no one else loses their home. David?
All right, Clayton Sandell leading us off. Clayton, thank you. Tonight, major new developments in that deadly tent collapse in New Hampshire. That powerful storm, a microburst now confirmed in these images. Inside that circus tent, families gathering outside, a storm brewing, of course. Moments later, the tent simply destroyed, metal poles flying, the canvas ripped off by the powerful storms. Scenes of chaos, victims sprinting for their lives, a father and his young daughter killed, 32 injured. The second fatal tent collapse in just 2 days. And tonight, what we've learned about that circus. Did they have permission to put up that tent? ABC's Lindsay Janis on the scene for us.
It was called in as a mass casualty.
A powerful storm packing winds up to 75 miles per hour, ripping this packed circus tent right out of the ground. More than 100 parents and children inside.
All of a sudden, I see these big metal poles that are holding up the tent start coming out of the ground.
We got an infant in the back.
Robert Young and his 6-year-old daughter Annabelle dead. Families say Dad was protecting his little girl. 32 others rushed to local hospitals. Heidi Medeiros threw herself on top of her 3-year-old son.
It was terrifying. You just hear the screaming children and the crying, and honest to God, my son's blood-curdling scream is something that will haunt my dreams for the rest of my life.
The terror unfolding just 15 minutes into a performance like this one by Walker Brothers International Circus. That storm part of the same system racing through the Northeast, downing huge trees, leaving thousands without power. And it's the second deadly tent collapse caused by storms this week. A man dying Sunday at a music festival outside Chicago. Back at the fairgrounds, questions tonight. Why did the show go on despite a severe weather warning for the area?
It's really the responsibility of the show to monitor the conditions.
David, officials now say the circus did not have a permit to set up here. This as more severe weather is expected to come through here tonight. David?
All right, Lindsay, thank you. And of course, this comes, as you mentioned, as the East Coast is being slammed with yet more severe weather at this hour. Those powerful lightning strikes in the skies over New York overnight. And of course, we just saw those images from Boston late today. Let's get right to meteorologist Rob Marciano. The same area getting hit again.
Yeah, one of the reasons we saw those deadly microbursts yesterday is because of a really strong jet stream overhead, and it's still there, David. Same areas getting hit tonight. We've got severe weather watch out for Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Boston. Several rounds rumbling through that city. Also severe weather in the plains, Nebraska and Kansas. Weather watch up there till 11 p. Big winds and hail there. And fire weather watch out for the Pacific Northwest. Red flag warnings there. System coming through. That's going to drop the temperatures, up the humidity. That's good, but it's also going to bring in some gusty winds just about everywhere. So firefighters will have to contend with that, David.
All right, Rob Marciano with us again tonight. Rob, thank you. And we do have one more image tonight. That super typhoon Rob is also tracking in the Pacific. This is the image as seen from space, the strongest cyclone on Earth. It's named Sadalor, and at this hour, barreling toward Taiwan, China, Japan's outer islands, packing wind gusts up to 180 miles per hour. In the bullseye, one of the world's tallest buildings, Taipei 101 it's called, 1,670 feet of glass, 101 stories. It's already hit the tiny U.S. island of Saipan, home to 48,000 American citizens. Meantime, back here at home tonight in two massive sinkholes in just 24 hours. These new images out of Brooklyn, New York tonight. You can see there an entire chunk of that street corner simply giving way. Pipes exposed, water lines cut off, no word on what caused it. It comes 24 hours after that sinkhole in Pittsburgh we showed you last night here. In the meantime, this evening, we move on now into the race for 2016. The new poll numbers coming in, determining who's in and who's out in the first big debate this week. We've got the list and who made it. We also have the message on Donald Trump's phone now that his number has been given out.
This is Donald Trump, and I'm running for the presidency of the United States of America. Hope to see you on the campaign trail. We're going to do it.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Yes, the mailbox is full. Not a surprise there, John. But the poll numbers are just in, so who made the cut? Who's going to be on the debate?
Well, as you know, it's the top 10 in the polls. And take a look at this. Right there, center stage at the debate, Donald Trump next to Jeb Bush. Of course, Trump far and away the leader. And then from the outside in are those that got much less. Chris Christie, Marco Rubio, Mike Huckabee, Scott Walker. On the other side of those two frontrunners, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and John Kasich barely making the cut.
There you have it, 10 making the cut. So who's out tonight?
Well, take another look at the board. You got the 7 who didn't make the cut, and it includes Rick Perry, the former governor of Texas, Rick Santorum, who was the runner-up last time. And remember, if you don't make it to the first debate, you're really not even making it to the starting line.
It's going to be really tough. And John, I want to show viewers at home this little clip. Most people will know this television show, right? The Apprentice. But there are reports tonight. Some of these candidates are studying The Apprentice to get ready for this.
Well, like nobody will actually admit studying The Apprentice, but this is the time they have to take Donald Trump seriously, especially Jeb Bush. The Jeb Bush folks know that he is going to be right next to Trump, that the moment in this debate is almost certainly going to be an interaction between the two of them.
All right, we'll be watching for it. John, thanks. We turn now to an urgent warning tonight about an invisible danger, an airborne disease now showing up tonight in 2 states. Legionnaire's disease, a severe form of pneumonia spread by mist in the air. The growing outbreak here in New York City, 7 deaths, at least 86 falling ill. And look at this. This is the possible culprit. Air conditioning towers able to spread mist carrying the deadly bacteria. And it's not just New York City tonight, now a case in Michigan that set in and quickly claiming the life of a mother. Dr. Besser is standing by, but first ABC's Cecilia Vega.
Tonight, an urgent call from the mayor of New York.
Symptoms include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. If you have these symptoms, please immediately seek treatment.
5 new cases of Legionnaire's disease in the past 24 hours alone. In all, 86 people infected, 7 deaths. An outbreak traced back to 5 contaminated water cooling towers. Experts say the airborne bacteria can spread from large air conditioning systems, showers, even public fountains. This is one of the locations in the Bronx where Legionnaire's disease started, from a contaminated cooling tower on the top of this hospital. It's an invisible mist that travels up to 7 miles away. And the people who contracted it were most likely doing exactly what I'm doing right now, just walking in the neighborhood. Around New York, residents are worried.
It's very scary.
And now another case in Detroit. 58-year-old Debbie Kidd complained of a migraine last week. Last night, she died. Doctors say it was Legionnaire's. Those cooling towers here in New York have been cleaned, but Legionnaire's disease can have an incubation period that lasts up to 2 weeks. David, doctors here fear there could be more cases to come.
Cecilia, thanks so much. Let's get right to Dr. Richard Besser, who, by the way, headed up the CDC's Legionnaire's unit before joining ABC. And first of all, I don't want to alarm people out there, but you were telling me you can actually catch this simply walking down the street.
That's right. That's why these outbreaks are so concerning. I was just up on a roof in one of these cooling towers, and you can see if they aren't well maintained, these outbreaks can happen, and there's nothing you can do about it.
People watching this at home, Rich, are going to wonder if their own air conditioning units in their home can spread this too, but it's completely different?
It's totally different. You know, the good news is that your window or home air conditioning unit can't cause this disease.
All right, Rich, you're going to stay on this, as I know. In the meantime, we turn to other news tonight. The manhunt underway at this hour in California after a string of violent crimes, a kidnapping, a murder, a shootout with police. The suspect said to be armed and dangerous. Tonight, SWAT teams on the scene, more than 100 officers scouring a 5-mile area for clues. As police now warn the suspect is not afraid of another shootout, warning neighbors to stay in their homes. And here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
He's armed and extremely dangerous and has eluded the law for a week already. This man accused of holding 3 men captive at gunpoint, murdering another. The body found in an old cabin. Described as a white male, 30 to 35, long brown hair, blue eyes, dirty in appearance, and wearing military-style clothing. Authorities say when law enforcement caught up with him in an abandoned mobile home, the suspect fired on them, wounding one deputy twice and grazing the other.
We do know that he's willing to engage law enforcement with a gun.
And now he's gone. Somewhere in this vast, rocky Jawbone Canyon in triple-digit heat of the Mojave Desert, the rugged terrain slowing the search. Law enforcement in camouflage have to move slowly in the high desert, a place frequented by off-road recreational vehicles and not much else.
This search area is so rural and so mountainous that the Sheriff's Department had to bring in their ATV team for this. Also, this used to be an old tungsten mining area, so because of that, authorities say there are plenty of places for him to hide.
Residents in the area on lockdown and schools closed out of caution. The public on the lookout for the suspect too, but warned not to approach him. Call 911. Kana Whitworth, ABC News, Jawbone Canyon, California.
Kana, thank you. Tonight, a former police officer from Ferguson is back in the news. Darren Wilson, who shot and killed Michael Brown, that death sparking national protest. Tonight, 1 year later, Wilson now saying he cannot get hired. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
In an interview that will certainly rile up his critics, former Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson tells The New Yorker that he can't find work. He says the shooting and killing of Michael Brown Jr. nearly a year ago, it's too hot an issue, so it makes me unemployable, saying that no police force will hire him. And when he started working at a boot store stocking shelves, he had to quit after reporters started calling. After being cleared twice in the racially explosive shooting, he says there were even threats about doing something to my unborn child, and his family can only eat out at safe places. We try to go somewhere, he says, with like-minded individuals. He acknowledges the lack of job opportunities in the predominantly black neighborhoods he once policed, but says there's also a lack of initiative to find work, saying you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. His first comment since his interview with George Stephanopoulos.
I'm sorry that their son lost his life. It wasn't the intention of that day.
He says he's watched the protests across the country over police methods and says everyone is so quick to jump to race. David?
Thank you, Steve. We turn to new developments tonight in that controversial classroom video out of Kentucky sparking outrage. 2 school children with ADHD, attention deficit, handcuffed by a sheriff's deputy. He says they were misbehaving. That deputy now facing a federal lawsuit. And tonight, the sheriff's office defiant, saying that deputy did what he was sworn to do. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
Outrage is growing tonight after the release of this video of an 8-year-old boy handcuffed by this Kentucky sheriff's deputy.
Now, you can either behave the way you know you're supposed to, or you suffer the consequences.
The third grader handcuffed for 15 minutes because of behavior which his